I have to jump right into it with season 5, the bomb that Cheryl dropped on the girls at the end of the episode. Um, One, how do you think that's going to affect the girls moving forward, not only with this news, but with Kristen? And B, how's it going to affect her relationship with her mother, even though that's even probably as fractured as it could possibly be?
Well, I mean, my mother is truly the worst. I have cut her out of my life. I don't know that she's done this. She's told the girls, this is our little secret. So it might take a while before I figure out that she's done this, if I even figure it out. But I think the girls are going to want to see their little brother as much as possible.
Mhm.
So she's really creating um, yeah, she's creating a big divide between me and my girls by introducing this secret to them. So,
It's interesting. I was talking to a friend of mine while we were watching the episode, and she was like, "Why hasn't Kristen been freaking out this season, knowing that she's the biological mother of this demon baby or whatever?" And I was like, "That's a good question." She's been kind of nonchalant about it. Is that just her way of coping with it until she actually has to deal with it? If that makes sense.
yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I think when she figured out that Leland made this child with her genetic material, I think she had two options: either go completely insane and admit defeat and her life and go crazy, or laugh it off and just think like I don't know. Yeah, and she chose the latter. I mean, she's a very resilient woman. She's proven to be one, and I truly think those are your only options. And I also think that it's probably the most effective way to get to Leland's head because yeah, that's her way to get back at him. And then I also think that she truly does not believe that this child is the Antichrist.
Right.
She's a child born out of rape, one could argue,
Yeah.
and the biological father is a total psychopath. I'm sure there are a lot of children who have one parent or more parents who are awful and turn out to be wonderful children, and vice versa, awful children from great parents. It's an interesting nurture nature debate. I think she thinks that um she tries to think of it as, there are people who donate their eggs and are able to not think about a child that is biologically theirs. And I think she tries to sort of do that and think like, okay, this is not my business.
Hmm.
Um, as a coping mechanism. I think we've also seen her in that episode where she does hold the baby and, she gets emotional,
Yeah.
and she also knew she shouldn't probably hold the baby because she would feel, she's such a mother, she's such a mama bear, and to see your biological, like, what are you going to do? You're
Yeah.
defenseless.
Yeah.
So I think that sets us up for how this season's going to progress, and I don't think it's easy for her to stay away from this child.
Right.
Yeah.
In the How to Build a Coffin episode, I have to talk about that scene between you and Patrick
Oh yeah.
in the hospital when she thinks it's one thing, he knows it's a little bit more than that, and they decide he needs to go away for a while. That scene was fantastic between you two. Can you talk a little bit about that and working with Patrick in that scene?
Yeah, I mean, Patty, I call him Patty, sort of goes by Patty. He's a dear friend. I've known him for a long time, even before we started Evil, and
Oh,
I
cool.
suggest that he play my husband. And we are sort of similar actors in our process. We don't discuss what we're going to do, but we really show up for each other, and it's a very easy connection. I can very easily connect with him, and therefore it's sort of quite easy to access emotions, and um, we can be vulnerable with each other. And the situation's just so heartbreaking
Yeah.
that if you allow yourself to feel the heartbreak of that situation, the scene just plays. So yeah.
over the past several seasons, there's been this thing between David and Kristen throughout the series. Do you think in this season, do you think this attraction between the two is it that they've acknowledged it, but it's something that they both are able to manage now? Finally, it's out there. This is what it is. Let's just move on, kind of thing. If that makes
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a tricky balance, right? I really like that scene in the first episode of this season where Andy is being fed that information of, why is your wife fucking a priest? Why is your wife?
yeah,
And then he confronts me about it. And I haven't slept with David, but we did kiss. And he asked, and I say no. But that in itself sort of creates a new tension between me and David
absolutely.
a little bit, because it's that thing. I think it happens in real life as well. If you have a really jealous partner and they're just like, what's going on with her, or what's going on with him? And you're like, and actually maybe even nothing is happening between you and that person, but just because it's brought to your attention, you're sort of like, is something going on with them? So, and in this case, obviously something is going on between them, but because Andy brings it up, it kind of just brings it back to the foreground a little
Right,
bit.
right.
I don't think they've ever really said, yeah, I don't think they ever really move on. It's sort of this thing where it just makes it even nicer to go to work because there's someone there who you, yeah, feel a deep affection and maybe, yeah, even love for and are attracted to. And so I think they know that they're not going to act on it, but it doesn't mean that that isn't underneath a lot of things still.
Well, doesn't that take like a kind of a burden off their shoulders a little bit? Don't you think? Now that they acknowledge it.
That they have acknowledged it.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, she's shared the most intimate of things with him that she,
yeah.
like, he is the only person who knows that. Dr. Boggs knows it as well, but in a very much less intimate fashion and as a therapist with, but he holds her deepest secret, and he still loved her after that, or he held her, or was able to. So, I mean, everything that happened before that for them was already, there was already a lot there, but after that, that's a bond she has with nobody else in the world. So
Mhm.
I think their connection is quite strong.
Looking back over the season and this current season, how do you think when Kristen first jumped on this evil train, how has she grown and changed over the season? And is she still a person who doesn't truly believe in evil? It kind of reminded me of Scully Mulder thing in the X-Files. It's like over the years,
Yeah.
has she become a believer now that she was a skeptic at first?
Interesting question. Well, I think she was a little bit of a believer for a second when she prayed for the first time in years, when she thought Andy had was in this avalanche and she didn't know if he was going to come back, and she said, God, I will do whatever you want. I will take my kids to mass if that's what you need. And I also think that in her in these years of working for the Catholic Church, she has seen things that she can't explain scientifically, and
Right.
because of her Catholic background, I think there is, yeah, there is a road back into that. So I think she kind of did drift to more of the believer, or in the middle of these two things. But then after Leland did this, I think she needed to go back to something just really tangible. And you
Right.
see her take everything out of her house, like the Bible, even the Buddhist flag, like everything. And she just needs to understand the world through science again. And she tells Ben, whenever we go anywhere, just tell me what is going on. I need to know immediately. And she's looking into studying quantum mechanics. Like, that is her goal, because it's her safety net. God is not her safety net. Yeah.
I know you can't say much, but are there any little nuggets you can give us as the season continues and what's going to happen coming up?
Let me think of something. Well, we'll see Demon Kristen again at some point. I like her very much. I think she's really fun. There was actually a scene that we filmed in the 3rd season that got cut, to Mike and my disappointment, because we we thought that was a very good scene between these two characters, and it actually sort of gave Demon Kristen a heart and made it was sort of a breakup scene between them. You can find it on I think on Mike's Instagram and maybe on YouTube. But we like these characters, and I like exploring her. I like the idea of her really wanting to be Kristen and not wanting to be objectified, which is just so funny because she's, literally in a schoolgirl outfit trying to get his attention. But I like the idea of her just shape-shifting constantly to try and become Kristen. And for me as an actor, it's a fun character because it's just ridiculous. And I get to play something else.
The word, well, this is supposedly the final season of the series, and a lot of people are like messaging Netflix and other streamers like that to pick up the series. And I've seen you do that as well on social media. Is there any hope that you guys may be picked up and maybe like Manifest or Suits that did so well on streaming that those shows came back or whatever? You hope something like that happens with Evil?
I do hope that. And at this point, I'm kind of thinking it will because we've been doing so ridiculously well on Netflix, and
Yeah.
we're on Paramount, and we're also on Amazon, I think. And these combined numbers have had us in the top 5 for weeks, and we were like the
Yeah.
2nd most streamed show for a week. And so I'm hoping that now it just sort of makes financial sense to some people, because everything's always about money, obviously. Financial sense for people to buy the show. And if I look at the numbers, I think it really might make financial sense. And if I look at the engagement from the fans and people asking for it and people wanting to see more, and also our personal hope to do more, all the actors want to do more. Robert and Michelle King, our creators, have said that it feels like a novel that they wanted to write, but they didn't get to write the last 2 chapters. I know that they always planned for 6 or potentially 7 seasons.
Mhm.
If you've got such brilliant people and you have a cast that still wants to do more, and now all of a sudden it's a profitable show with great numbers and great fan engagement, I kind of don't see why not.
Right.
But I also don't want to jinx anything, but thank
Right.
you to the fans for continuing to support the show, and we're super excited to see how much you love it, and we'd love to make more.
And that actually was my next question. One of my final questions is, what would you, if the show does not come back, fingers crossed, hopefully it does, but if it doesn't come back, what would you like to say to the fans who have jumped on this train since day one?
Oh gosh, well, the day oneers, y'all are amazing. All right, the people who found us later on Netflix, we love you. Thanks for championing the show. I feel like if we had that big an audience from the beginning, like maybe we wouldn't be in this situation where we couldn't do more, if that's the case. But thank you for coming on this crazy ride with us. It has been a joy of my life to make this show, and yeah, thanks.
And my final question is, I hear word on the street is the true personification of evil is a game called One Marshmallow, Two Marshmallow. Would you agree with that? That's what I hear.
Oh gosh. Yeah, well, it was sort of like a thing that went through set. It came from my girls, my on-set children. I've always done like little games with them since they were small, also to keep them loose before they had to film. And this marshmallow game was now introduced by them, and I taught it to Mike, and Mike went crazy for it. We got very competitive with it, and it became kind of, as an actor, you need to be alive and you need to be present. And so it may have looked like we're just dicking around, but it actually sometimes helped on these long days. It felt like,
Yeah.
oh, we got like a shot of espresso, we got to 6 marshmallow. That's our best freaking score. Let's ram the scene out. And then it was really fun with other actors who came to set, like for instance, Richard Kind did something later, and the great John Carroll Lynch, and to teach them how to do it. So the only person who really hated it, but I think it was sort of like a gag that he hated it, was Asif. Every time Mike and I would do it, Asif would stand in the corner and just be like, but then, and Robert King filmed it in the beginning. And then later he was like, no, it has to stop. It has to stop. But then Michelle King actually also wanted to play it. And she said she stayed up all night studying us playing it because she really needed to get to 6 marshmallow. And we also have a video of Michelle playing it with Mike and me. So look, it's a fun game. And actually, it sort of ties into the plot because Sister Andrea feeds the demon of grief, these demons, she feeds them little marshmallows. So
It all connects.
can you play it? Have you played it?
No, I have not. I just heard about it and I was like, I have to ask about this.
You gotta, well, with your little watch group, y'all gotta do it. It's fun.